I made that decision about my second year of university. So my first year I was going to be a conservation officer, like fish and game officer. And I started coaching football, and that was 1988 here in town. I was 21 years old, and I absolutely loved it. And from that point onward, I decided I wanted to work with young people. My dream goal was to start and coach a high school football program, and the way to do that was to become a teacher. So, I switched over my majors to history and geography, which were passions, and went to school for another 5 years. And in 1994, graduated with a bachelor's education out of the University of Victoria, and I started teaching that year.
Are you originally from Nanaimo, or did you come to Nanaimo to teach?
I'm originally from the United States. I was born in Montana way back in 1966, and moved up here as a 8-year-old in 1975 with my father who and mother. My dad taught college, and so we moved up to Prince George, British Columbia, where I went to school from the 4th grade to the 12th grade.
For the football game, because a lot of people, they may get concussions and maybe lose their brain function. So when you made a decision to become a teacher, and you're dealing with the high school students that you may know they may or may not get a concussion out of it.
Yeah.
How do you stay brave enough to still teaching the sport that could give somebody a brain an injury?
That's a great question. So, that first year I was coaching football was 1988, and concussions weren't really an issue back then. In not just football, but most sports. People would just say, oh, you had a dinger, you got your bell rung, and really dismissed it. You sit down for a while and then go back in when you feel better. And that's what the nature of the sport was right up until, the mid-2000s, when people started to think there was more to concussions than met the eye. Back when I started, there was a lot more concern about hurting your neck or spine, by tackling improperly and injuring yourself or somebody else. So when concussions came to the forefront, it was a matter of, okay, what's causing these? What are they? What's causing them, and how do you mitigate the possibility of them happening, right? And so we had to train quite a bit to make the sport a lot safer. So, to answer your question, as a coach, the safety of your athletes is number one. It's first and foremost. And, you teach them concussion protocol. You learn about it yourself. You embrace the new rules with blocking and tackling and eliminating situations where a concussion could arise. Now, you never 100% safe. They can happen. Concussions, not just from head contact, but just a sudden change of direction or deceleration or acceleration. And the way you tackle, the way you block, the placement of your head in contact is absolutely crucial to playing the sport safely. And again, you look for any indicator of it. So when in doubt, you sit a player out, and they don't come back until you've gone through a protocol, for safe return to play, and that may be the whole game, maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, based on what the follow-up that takes place with physicians is.
So I also add, you like socials. What got you into socials?
Social studies?
Yes.
I've always loved it. Love to read, and particularly history, and all kinds of history. When I was a little boy, 2-3 years old, I used to read a lot about the western frontier in the United States, and all the scrapes people got in. I read Little House on the Prairie book series written by Laura Ingalls Wilder, and And reading a book, and particularly a historical book, or looking at the pictures, it just takes you back to that time. And no frontiers with that. There's always something interesting to learn about. We're just the latest iteration of humanity, and those that came before us lived some pretty holistic lives.
So as a teacher and a coach, what do you find that it's easy to pass on to the students?
I think having bounce, like when you knock down, you don't lay down, and in life, just not physically knocked down, but when you go through hard times, everybody's going to get knocked down. Everybody's going to meet a disappointment or a setback. And, people that are generally unsuccessful, they just lay on the ground and turtle up and, woe is me and the sky is falling kind of mentality. But the people that hit the ground and jump up and get back into the game or, life's fight, for lack of a better word, those people usually build a lot of resilience, And if you look at anybody that's been successful in life, they've had a lot of failures, right? And they're successful because they get back up and try to do it better, try to build a better mousetrap. So I think what I could pass on is a lot of resilience and, strategies for competing, And when I talk about competing, I'm talking about competing against yourself. You can control you. You can't control the people you're competing against, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're always trying to be your best self, emotionally you're pretty stable because your victories, you own them. You can control you. You can control your effort. And, when you do that and build on it over and over again, psychologically, you're a happier person. It's you against you. You're not playing comparison games with other people. And as you get better and improve your game, you can go into the arena and compete against other people. Today's mentality often is the person sitting in the winner's circle holding their hand up saying, I'm number one, right? That's just a moment in time, right? That's the success place. The real important part that I've learned and embraced and try to teach is the success road. So it's the road to going to that place, and it lasts a lot longer. This success place is one moment in time. The success road never ends. And the resilience, the effort, the fortitude, that's kind of like the extra mile in life. And there's not a lot of traffic jams in the extra mile. You can live a pretty good existence that way.
Do you find it hard to balance between coaching and teaching students?
Yeah. I think they're one and the same. Teaching and coaching, you could swap those words. They're synonymous with each other, right? When you're coaching somebody, again, you're helping them be their better self, play their role within a team concept. When you're teaching, you're helping them find their strengths or their passions, the things they love to do. And often, in teaching and working in classes, you'll notice classes start to feel like a team a lot of ways, right? So they're very, very similar. The hardest part is you got to turn off the after-school part, like the coaching part, and be sure that you're fresh and ready to go with the in-class part. So it's a conversation inside of your mind. Sometimes you got to, kick the football, in my case, out of my head until 3:00.
So as a teacher, how do you deal with students that really don't care, more like they're there because they have to be, and a lot of kids say they can't because it looks maybe it's harder, or maybe they don't have a talent for it? How do you encourage them to stay on the path that they're supposed to be on, and encourage them to be there although they were really they're there?
Okay, well, you're talking in the classroom.
Yes.
Yes, okay. And again, I find the classroom and the field are very similar, right? And so when you're dealing with people, everybody is an equal person, but everybody has different talents, right? And first thing you want to do is help people find what their passions are or what their best self is. And even in a class they may not like being in, they can still find success. I mean, if you can show up on time 2 days in a row when before you could never put 2 days together in a row, you won. Like you setting small goals for yourself. Academically, when you're going through some of the fundamental work with people, because you build everything on fundamentals, if somebody's struggling with fundamentals, give them some extra time, give them some extra repetitions, and always have feedback. Feedback's really important. I call it like the breakfast of champions, like cereal, But you give people feedback, and positive goes a lot further than negative. Sometimes you got to be a little negative, but for the most part, find any small thing a person's doing well, and let them know that you acknowledge that it's been done, and help them to acknowledge that they're doing well, and they grow in confidence. So I guess you just find your wins, count your wins, and each day you try to get a little better. And at some point they click. They find that through confidence they lose fear and anxiety, and their attitude and approach towards school becomes better.
So outside school, what are some of the things you like to do?
I have a couple dogs, herding dogs, cattle dogs. They're little rowdy guys, but they're the love of my life. They're like my children. So I spend a lot of time with my dogs. We just do everything together at the house, in the yard. Play with their toys and work them out and wrestle around with them. And my dogs are a big passion of mine. Love to fish. Loved fishing. That's very enjoyable. I always like that. And I like reading. I read quite a bit.
Do you have any kids, and do they go to this school?
I have two daughters. Two daughters by my first wife. They're all grown up. They've children of their own, and no children at the school here at present. Yeah, but grandkids that are in the pipeline. I think we'll have a few John Barsby students here by the time I'm getting ready to retire. I kind of look at John Barsby. Each year you coach 60 football players, and kind of look at all those guys as a bunch of nephews, right? So lots of nephews, lots of people that have come through, and we stay in touch, and it's an extended family.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
And this concludes episode 2 of the John Barsby podcast with Coach Stevenson, Jackie, and Ketty. Stay tuned for episode 3 coming up next week.